What would you do if a doctor walked into the room and with one sentence rewrote the entire future you were picturing? In one appointment, one scan, one moment you never saw coming. Welcome back to Becoming, the podcast where we sit inside the middle moments, not the highlight reels, not the everything's worked out now, but the sacred in-betweens where God holds us, shapes us, and meets us long before the ending is clear. And today's conversation with my friend Ainsley is exactly that. Ainsley is an author, a speaker, and now a mom of two. And she's going to take us into the moment her world split open. She and her husband walked into a routine 20-week anatomy scan, expecting measurements and some sweet pictures, and instead heard three words no parent is prepared for. Tetralogy of Fallot. A congenital heart defect, their son's diagnosis. The beginning of a completely different story than the one they imagined. Now, this isn't necessarily a testimony wrapped in a bow. This is a mother speaking from inside of the middle. From the shock and pacing in the parking lot to therapy, the questions she whispered to God in the early morning, and the fear of taking care of two children at once, and the grief no one prepares you for. But it's also a story of how God draws close and surprises her through simple miracles, how he met her through something so small and so holy as daily rainbows, signs that she didn't know how to ask for until the day that she needed them the most. If you've ever found yourself thinking, Lord, I trust you, but this, or how do I keep going when I cannot control the outcome? Then this is the podcast for you. Whether you're in the car, folding laundry, nursing your baby, or walking through your own middle, I pray this conversation meets you with gentleness and hope. Let's jump in. I invited you because the whole point of this podcast, which is called Becoming, is to have a space for unfinished, unfiltered middle moments. If you're a follower of Jesus, you know that we're living in the middle, like we're living in the not yet. He's not come back yet. And there's still mess and junk. And so I feel like when I often hear people share testimonies or stories or encouragement in the Christian world, it's like, this is where I was and here's where I am now and everything is better. And I don't mean to say it in such a degrading way, but
No,
like,
yeah.
I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Because that's not like reality.
Mhm.
Because like one day you may be living in an after moment and everything may be great. And then the next morning you wake up and
You
it's
slept for
not.
2 to 3-hour increments.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
For sure.
yeah. So that's why I invited you to not to be like, you're so messy, but I feel like you, are such a breath of fresh air in the content that you share and the way that you share your life and your relationship with the Lord. So that's why I invited you.
Thank
Um,
you.
And I've gotten to watch from afar. I feel like I always know people's lives and I don't, but it's that parasocial life. I've gotten to watch from
Totally.
afar a little bit about your like most recent pregnancy and Truett's birth. So I don't want to ruin anything, but I definitely want to go there a little bit if you're willing to.
Mhm.
Um, so I'll stop talking and let you introduce yourself. I won't read the
Yeah.
spiel, but tell us who you are, Ainsley. So
Yeah. So I'm trying to think of all the things because I haven't sat down to work in so long or
that's
even do a
okay.
podcast, which is so fun and exciting to even be here. So thank you for having me. But
Yeah.
yes, so I am an author first,
Hmm.
I think, as far as
Hmm.
like the job stuff goes.
Right.
But really, first, I'm a mom and a
Mom.
wife and, all of that kind of stuff. Um, but an author, speaker, former podcast host. I don't do my podcast anymore, but it's still
Out
there
there.
and on the internet. So that's called Wild Confidence, and that is me in a nutshell. We live in Louisiana, so that sometimes comes out more often than not. And if you're confused about anything I say, it's probably because it's a Louisiana thing.
Oh my gosh, I love it. Yeah, I wrote on here, like, when I was trying to think about your intros, like, you have "Don't Date a Boo Boo Dude," you have the Enneagram for Teens, which are
Yeah.
maybe a little different, um,
Mhm.
but we're not necessarily here to talk about them, but we can if they come up, I'm happy for you to bring that. Um, I mainly wanna ask you to focus in on a middle moment that you wanna talk about. We could talk about a couple, depends on how the timing goes, but I'm definitely curious about what it was like dealing with parenting a sweet little child in the middle of medical uncertainty and carrying a pregnancy. Um,
Yes.
and then also navigating everything that came after that. So, we could probably we could probably start somewhere around there. So,
Sure.
um, yeah, I'll let you take it from there. I don't even know what the question is. Maybe tell us, like, catch me up on
Sure.
this most
Okay,
recent
well,
season.
I can try to start from a place and you just tell me
Sure.
back up or fast forward or that's a good spot.
Okay.
Because I haven't talked about it yet. I've talked about it
Okay.
one time for a fundraiser for the Louisiana Pediatric Cardiology
Right.
Foundation,
Mhm.
which was such an honor. But outside of that, I have not talked about Truett's journey, but I will say that I learned so much through it and
Yeah.
I'm still in therapy. So that is
Well, right.
certainly the middle that,
Right.
I mean, we're still certainly in the middle of it. In fact, we're in the middle of, the first surgery and the hopefully last surgery, but there could be multiple in
Yeah.
the future. So,
Yeah.
anyway, the backstory is that I have a 3.5-year-old little girl named Goldie, and she is hilarious and amazing and absolutely feral, always covered in paint and dirt and carrying lizards.
As she should
Um,
be.
as she should be. Yeah, she's crazy, but she's so much fun. And whenever she was 2-ish, I got pregnant with our second sweet little angel on purpose. And he is amazing and sweet and precious. But whenever we were at our 20-week anatomy scan, they told us he had tetralogy of Fallot, which is a heart defect that is not extremely common,
Mm.
and all the reasons that you would get tetralogy of Fallot or have it, none of them apply to us or to Truett. So
Wow. What
it
are like, do you like, off the top of your head, do you remember what some of those are?
yeah, so a lot of times it's a symptom of Down syndrome or
Okay.
DiGeorge syndrome, which is
Mhm.
just another chromosome abnormality,
Mm.
um, or or what is it? Maternal alcohol syndrome or something
Right.
like that. Like
Right. Mhm.
which it does not apply.
Right,
Um,
right.
uh, there was just a couple of other things that it
Right.
just none of it
Yeah.
fit, and he does not have
Mhm.
any chromosome abnormalities, which
Wow.
is honestly a miracle.
Mhm.
Not that we would not have done it. We wouldn't have done anything about that. We'd have loved him the
Right.
same,
Right.
but it's very unique for that to not be the
Right.
case.
Right.
So anyway, we found that out at our 20-week anatomy scan, and since then, it's been just, a lot of trusting the Lord, a lot of
Mhm.
trying to understand who God even is, if
Right.
not the Jeremiah 29:11 God that all things were,
Right.
all things are good and happy and, like, if we're children of God, we don't suffer, right? Is the lie. That's the
Right.
thing that you tend to believe until you're faced with suffering. And then
Yeah.
you're like, "Oh, but you're also a God who is with his children and helps them suffer well."
Right, which we're in the US, and, eh,
Mhm.
I'm assuming we both grew up in fairly stable families, right? Financially and
For the
spiritually,
most
for
part.
the most part. I mean, there's shades to stable, but I mean, we
Sure.
probably both had food most likely and
Yeah, yeah,
parents
yeah.
at home, etcetera. Um, so I think that that lie in our faith that, suffering doesn't happen is kind of can only be rampant in places where there's really good things in excess, which is like, thanks God for having us be born here. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, a lot of us are not faced with that until something really uncontrollable happens. So yeah, anyways, I don't know what I'm trying to say here. I'm just glad that we're talking about suffering
Yeah.
being
Or
real.
even just the
Um
kid, like, our kids is a whole different
mhm.
level of suffering, right? Like, I mean, when we think
Mhm.
about grief or suffering, I actually today is the 2-year anniversary of my cousin's overdose, and
Mm.
then 2 next week will be the 2-year anniversary of losing my uncle, and then prior,
Mm.
within those, I mean, I've lost 8 people that I love within the last decade. So it's not
Mm.
that I'm even a stranger to suffering. It's
Right.
just a totally different level when it's your kids. And
Mm.
whenever it's something that you can't do anything about.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like maybe if I don't have kids and I'm listening to this, it's my mom or it's just
Right.
someone who's like the very closest person to me
Right.
that I can't control their
Right.
outcome.
Mm.
It's just a totally different
Yeah. So
level.
it is a totally different, so let's go back to the 20-week anatomy scan, and
Mhm.
I don't know, like, if you can take a minute and enter, like, leaving that scan or maybe even the room. I don't know what was happening and what you wanna share, but, like, what were your conversations with your husband leaving that? I know you both have faith in Jesus, but what did it
Yeah.
you know?
I can probably give you a lot more detail after I
Share the
am,
full thing.
no, like, whenever I have a little more therapy because have
Oh,
blocked
that's
it out.
okay. Oh, that's
No,
okay.
not because I don't wanna talk about it, because I do. I wanna help other people who do end up in this situation, but I
Yeah.
have genuinely blocked things out
That's
for
real.
survival,
That's real.
especially carrying him and, like, being
Right.
pregnant and not knowing him. The only thing that I remember Justin had, well, during the anatomy scan, they were like, "Hey, we're just gonna send you to this cardiologist. We think he might have, like, a little hole in his heart, and, you
Mm.
know, it could close on its own, so it could be no big deal. Like,
Right.
we just want to get a second opinion." And my OB is very conservative, so I was like, "Sure, yeah, like, no worries." And then I remember we went to the cardiology appointment. I remember my husband had a work call, like, right at the end, like a hard stop, because we truly thought we were just gonna hear,
Right.
"Yeah, no biggie."
Uh-huh.
And so we get this news that it's actually a big biggie. It's 4 different things that are wrong with his heart at one time, which is the tetralogy
Okay. The 4,
term.
yeah.
Um, and I couldn't even tell you what all those are. I was looking at a heart diagram and it turned
Yeah.
into like, what is that teacher? Snoopy's teacher or something like that. When it's like,
Mm.
wah, 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 wah.
Oh, uh-huh.
I'm like, I don't know what you're saying, sir.
Right, right.
But I remember he was amazing, at the delivery and very comforting and very much like, "We
Mm.
can fix this. It is gonna require open heart surgery." But, like, as soon as you hear that, it's over, right? Like,
Yeah, you
everything is
just
just
go
like,
blank.
what do you mean?" So I remember leaving and pacing and bawling my eyes out, like, just walking
Mm.
outside because my husband was on a work call. And
Ah,
I think I just
timing.
like yeah, but honestly, I think that was God's grace because I much
Mm.
prefer to bawl my eyes out by myself.
That's real.
I don't want anyone in my space whenever I'm like
Yeah,
in a
vulnerable place.
yeah, that in that vulnerable of a place for sure. So I kind of
Yeah.
just had to like get it out of my system. And then I went back, sat in the car, and I think my husband and I were both just like frozen probably, deer in headlights.
Mm.
And I don't remember the conversation at all. I'm
Yeah, that's real.
assuming it was something like, "We're gonna be okay?"
Right.
Question mark.
Yeah. Um, one of the things I saw you post over the last couple months, while I was following your pregnancy and praying for Truett and for y'all as a family was about these rainbow moments or rainbows in
Oh,
general. Do you
yes,
wanna share about that and what that was?
absolutely. I think that that has been one of the things that has carried us for sure. So, the story behind the rainbows, the first story behind the rainbows is I was with my best friend's best friend, right? Like, we share a best
Mm.
friend, and she and I had known each other very well up until recently, but I did know that her son had 2 heart surgeries, and he's
Oh,
younger than
interesting.
my oldest daughter, so, or
Wow.
my daughter, he's 2 and a half maybe, so he's already had 2 open heart surgeries,
Wow.
and she said that whenever they were, um, going to get lunch at some point, she walked outside and she saw this snail in the grass, and it was so funny because she was like, "A snail," but then I had this huge revelation that this is such a beautiful creature just, like, living its life, and God cares about it. Like, God cares about this snail, and if God cares about this snail, He cares about us, and it was so significant to her, and it made such an impact on her, and when she
Yeah.
shared it with us, I just started bawling, crying,
I mean, I'm
like
like
yeah, it was so sweet. The snail
Mm,
story was so sweet, and so she then started seeing snails every day.
wow.
And I was like, that is so crazy because, like, how often
Yeah.
do you see a snail? You don't pay attention to how often you see a snail, really.
Right, it's so inconsequential and so small and
Yeah.
slow.
Yeah, exactly. So then she
Mm.
said, or then I thought, well, I want a snail sign, like a God sign that is something that I can kind of cling to every day throughout this process.
Hmm.
And my mentors, we had been recently talking about God's promises and
Yep.
just trusting God's promises over your life and what that means and what that looks like and all this stuff. And then that led me to think of a rainbow. And I was
Yep.
like, man, I would love to see a rainbow every day, Lord. Like, if you could just show me a rainbow every day. And I started seeing them. Not only did I start seeing them every day from
Mm.
that point forward for months and months and months,
Mm.
but I started realizing that I had taken photos of rainbows previous to that day. So the day that we found out we were pregnant, there was a double rainbow, perfect circles in the sky around the sun at the beach. And I was like, what? First of all, I had never seen a perfect rainbow circle, a perfect circle rainbow, period, around the sun. And that was just insane to me that I had already seen that. Like, God was showing me
Right,
rainbows
there's,
before
like
I had even asked for the
right,
rainbow,
and just,
and
like,
I've
his
seen them still
right, and
for
his
months.
providence and kindness that he would impart that desire to you that you could ask him to see something so small that would mean so much, and then the fact that he had already thought about that you would want that and had
Yeah,
already, like, started to provide them for you, and you'd taken pictures. That just makes me wanna weep. I, had a sign as well during my pregnancy, um and I don't know, like, what Christians think about this or whatever, but for me, I believe, like, God is communicating with us, right? Like, God is giving us
totally.
these signs, and I know some of my friends who are more spiritually eclectic are like, "Yeah, the universe, like, your baby's talking to you." I'm like, "Nah, I think it's God, but it's okay." Um, but for us, my husband has cystic fibrosis, which is
Mm,
a
mhm.
genetic illness, genetic disease, whatever you wanna call it, but it's, like, largely invisible, which I guess heart things are too, like, you don't see them until, someone shows you on a scan.
Yeah,
Um, but anyways, when we got married, I remember, going to a doctor at Emory, and I feel like they should have had so much more 'cause we're in Georgia. I feel like they should have had so much more kindness and tact, but we, like, went for an appointment to talk about having children in the future, and they were like, "Yeah, um, you can't unless you do IVF." Like, they just, like, came out and said it. And I was like,
what?
"What? Like, could we, like we're 23, could we have a kind conversation about this of, like, what this
Yeah,
means for us?" And they just, like, gave us a pamphlet and, um, and sent us on our way. And again, I'm like, I can't even remember, like, all the details of that appointment because it was just so much. But, um, I have to share this more in depth another time, but for me, the sign that the Lord gave me during my pregnancy with Autumn was, the IVF clinic that we would go to. There were always sparrows, and we lived in New York
Ah,
City, and it's super loud, and, like, there's not a lot of trees in New York City, so, like, where are these tiny little birds coming from? But there was always one either, like, on the scaffolding or outside the door to the clinic, and it would always be there for months. I saw this, like, little birdie, um,
yeah.
and I learned to do its little whistle because
Oh,
I was
that's so
so
sweet.
obsessed with it. It's so weird, like Disney moment, but,
That's
um,
so funny.
yeah, and our clinic was really, really close to, Central Park, and we would walk to the park afterwards, and, I would, like, look for sparrows there too.
Yeah.
And of course, it reminded me of that verse that, like, he's, if how much more does he love you? Well, not the verse, sorry, the song that how much more does he love you? If he clothes the lilies. I can't even say the verse right now
No,
or
I
the
know what you're
song. I'm
talking
so
about.
tired. But
I get
anyway,
it.
how sweet that God would do signs for us like that.
Yeah.
So back
True.
to Truett.
Mhm.
Tell us how old he is now.
Now he is 6 months old, and he had his, surgery at 3 months.
Okay.
So we're 3 months out. Praise
3
no.
months out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It it's flying.
Yeah. Now it is for
Um,
sure. It was very slow for a long time.
I'm sure. I'm very sure that's true. Um, we talked a little bit about how God met you there through those rainbow moments. Is there any other ways God has been meeting you in this season that you'd want to share?
Oh, yeah. I think, I'm actually reading gosh, I wish I remembered the exact name of it, but Jenny Randall is an amazing author, prophet,
Mm,
very amazing just person in general. Let me look up what her book is right now
yeah.
because that is what I brought to the hospital, and
Mm,
I think that it was, it was a really great lesson on oh, shoot, is it gonna work? Yeah, Emmy award-winning editor, author, and ministry founder. She's amazing. Let me see. Oh, she has so many books. Okay, The Promised Presence is the
mm,
current book that I'm still working through, An Introduction to Holy Spirit's Power and Authority.
mm.
Um, that's the book that I brought to the hospital thinking that I would even have the capacity to read, but turns out I didn't.
You brought
I
this to Truett surgery?
yes,
Okay.
I'm
I was
thinking,
like, not birth.
yeah.
What?
No, 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 no. No. Well, no. But if you have the epidural, you could bring a book. But with Truett, actually, oddly enough, was in transition, didn't know I was in transition whenever I got the epidural. And I was like, this epidural is not working. Like I've had an epidural before. This is my second birth. This is not working. And the nurse, I was at 5 centimeters whenever I was like, okay, let's get the epidural. And within 30 minutes, I was in transition. And she
That's
was like,
fast.
there's no way that your epidural is not working. Like, you've got it. Can I check you again? 30 minutes later. I was like, sure. And she said, you're 10 centimeters. I was like, what?
That is
I
so
was,
fast.
it was unbelievably fast.
I mean, mine was fast. I got epidural at 8 centimeters, but
Yeah.
it
So in
it slowed
transition, yeah.
everything down. Yeah, I was vomiting, not fun, but it's good. We're
Yeah.
good. She's here. She's cute.
Yeah. Totally.
We
Totally.
survived.
That
But
transition pain is literally is
it's
not like any other.
next. I was
But
shaking. Anyways, back to the
oh
book.
yeah, for sure. Okay, sorry. So The Promised Presence, that is the
Uh-huh.
book that I've been reading since then, but it's really been
Mm,
carrying me as far as suffering goes and
mm,
as far as like being in the middle goes. And because
mm.
I won't sit here and say that like I don't worry about him every single day. And like I'm gonna have to tell him
Right.
he can't play football. And in Louisiana and Georgia, like that's what you do,
That's a big thing.
you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um so anyway, we still have quite a
A
few things
lot.
ahead of us, but whenever I was literally in that hospital room looking at my 3-month-old whose chest was just opened and operated on, and like his heart stopped, they have to stop your heart to operate on it, obviously. Um, it was just one of those things that I was like, if you are not here, like if God, if you are not here, there really is no reason for anything. Like there's no,
Yeah.
everything doesn't matter if you're not
Mhm.
real and if you're not here. And
Yep.
I think that's whenever I finally understood what it meant to consider it pure joy when you go through trials, because I finally understood what it meant to feel the undeniable promised presence that the Holy Spirit is for us. Because it
Mm.
was just so hopeless and helpless that it was one of those things where I was like, if you don't carry me, like I can't
Yeah,
go
there's no
forward. I
walking.
can't do
Yeah.
anything. I can't. And I do remember having a peace that surpasses, all understanding for moments. I don't want to
Mhm.
say that I
Right.
was perfectly at peace throughout the whole thing and
Right.
continue to be. That's just not how it was. And I would
No.
be lying if I said that.
We
But I
appreciate
will
your
say,
honesty.
yeah, that there's the pockets of peace that carried me through. And every time that a rainbow came up, I would feel that. And I'd also want to say this is very significant to me about the rainbows too.
Mm.
So June is Pride Month, right?
Mhm.
That's known. And so I was like, the surgery was June. Was it June 9th? Yeah. Yeah, it was June 9th. And so going into June, I was like, well, I'm going to see rainbows everywhere. How can I know if they're from the Lord? Like, how can I know that
Right.
there were actually rainbows from the Lord? And I said, Lord, coming into June, if you can show me rainbows exclusively in the sky, like the ones after rain, instead of, in a reflection from a glass or in chalk on the sidewalk or, I mean, on a backpack or something like that. Those are where I would see them most often, is just like at stores or going about my day. And then
Hmm.
I said, in June, if you can just show me the ones in the sky, I'll know it's you. And
Hmm.
I'm not kidding. Every single day for at least 2, 3 months, I was seeing rainbows in the sky from other people sending them to me. I never saw one with my own eyes in the sky.
Hmm.
They were always other people sending them to me. So not only did I know and see the Lord in the rainbows, but other people did
Hmm.
too, because they were the ones that were reminded of Truett every single time a rainbow, every time they saw one, and then they would send it to me.
Hmm.
So that was insane. I thought, I was like, I can't believe you're granting this request. Like, I can't believe that you're like, yeah, I'll show you a rainbow in the sky. Sure.
Why can't
Versus,
you believe that?
I just think that that's so, I don't want to say that I was testing God because I wasn't,
No.
but
Mm-mm.
but that's just so kind. And that's what's
Yeah.
led me to really dive deeper into who God even is
Right.
outside of how I grew up
Right. Because
or
it
what I
feels,
thought.
yeah. And I guess just thinking about your story, if I were living your story, um, and I were to love the Lord and have a child and then get pregnant and my second child is experiencing this thing that's completely out of my control, I would definitely start to question, is God exactly who he's said he is or
Yeah.
who I think he is? And I would be shaken in the way that I think about him. Um, so
A
that
and just that, like, in general, not only are we not promised tomorrow, but, I mean, our
right.
kids aren't promised tomorrow, like, nothing is
Ugh,
certain, and so
right.
whenever you have a certain God among so much uncertainty in your life, it's just very hard to trust for
Whew.
me. It's very hard to trust, like, "Okay, like, I know you're a good God, but that doesn't mean my kid's gonna live."
Ugh.
Like, "And you're still good, and I still have to believe that?" Question mark, question mark, question mark.
I know, I know. I'm sure someone that is gonna listen to this is gonna hear that and be like, "Well, then they couldn't be good." And to which maybe I'll have to link some show notes to some incredible resources on why that's not true, but that's okay.
Well, yeah,
Um,
and I think that that goes back to if the more that you are just rediscovering him or maybe discovering him for the first time, the more you will realize that in the middle through it all, he is near. And even whenever
Mhm.
you're suffering, you will get your rainbows, and you may not get your miracle that you have been praying
Mm.
for, but you still will experience his goodness, and that is the pure joy that we
Mm.
can consider suffering. That is where
Mm.
we really understand that he is real and that he is good, because when we are at a point that you really are questioning that, or you just, I mean, and this is me, like, I was a
Right.
pastor before, like,
Right.
I was a that was my job, was a
Right.
pastor, and then for me to be like, "Is God actually good? Is
Right.
God who he says he is or who I think he is?" Like, and going through that process, I think,
Mm.
is where the miracle is, because faith, I think, is miraculous. For us
Yes.
to really put our belief in the God of the universe is miraculous, and for him to meet us there, and for him to be so head over heels in love with us that he will weep with us and that he will celebrate with us, like, all of that is worth it. All of that proves that he is so far beyond, it's just, we
It's
can't
massive.
conceptualize it.
Right.
We
Right.
can't.
Right.
And the book that I am working on next, which Lord knows whenever that'll come out, but
He does.
yeah, he does know when it'll come out, but it's called God's Borrowed Breath,
Oh,
because
wow.
that's all we are. And I think whenever we think that we shouldn't be suffering, we forget who we are. We forget that,
Yes.
like, we don't, our God, our entitlement to
Yes.
this lack of suffering is the opposite of
Yep.
our purpose, right? It's not
Yes.
that we're meant to suffer nonstop,
No.
but it's meant to say that all we are is God's borrowed breath. We are his voice box. We are, um,
Yes.
who he sent to tell other people about him. We
Yep.
are the chosen people. And for us to be able to communicate with everyone in all stages of life and in
Mm.
all seasons,
Mm.
we have to know what that is. And
Mm.
we saw those, we saw Jesus suffer. So why
Right.
would we be exempt from suffering when he wasn't? I mean, he even
Right.
asked, "Can this cup pass from me?" Right?
Right.
And yet, and yet, he still communed with the Lord. And yet, he still was in prayer. And yet, in the middle of the most stressful, sweating blood moments, he was still in prayer.
Yeah.
And I just think about that, and I think about, like, how that is where our position of submission should be and should stay. And if we're in that place, then we fully understand what it means to be God's borrowed breath. And that's how we can walk out our destiny and walk out our calling and our purpose and all of that, that everyone's so
Mhm.
desperate to
To get
find.
to or find, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm like,
Yeah,
you do it every day if you just remember that's
literally.
all you are.
Yeah, and there's probably 800 things we could talk about along that too, because there's so many ways
Certainly.
the world lies to us about what purpose is or what is purposeful or all those things, attaching
Yeah.
them to numbers or wealth or reach or like all these metrics that God never intended. Um So, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's I was doing a quick Google search when you were talking about rainbows and signs, because I was remembering I know there's times in scripture where people have asked God for a sign. There's, like, multiple
Yeah.
times in
The
scripture.
lambskin and yeah.
Exactly, and I was like, what is, like, some of the lists of them? But or even times where God sent a sign on behalf there's just tons, so maybe I'll just have to link a little document with some for people to dive into. But definitely Gideon and the fleece, like you were talking
Mhm.
about. Um or even the was it Elijah and the fire from heaven and, like,
Mhm.
the wet logs? Um, but it's
Yeah.
I think it is evidence of who you actually believe God to be and your vulnerability with God in asking for a sign because you believe that God is a God who could give it to you, and your faith
Yeah.
deepens in every time you ask him for those things. I saw this adorable post this morning, and I was gonna pull it up. It was basically a daughter talking to her dad, and she was like, "I'm 3 and I did this," or "I'm 5 and I did that."
Oh, I know what you're
And she would
talking
always
about.
go to her dad. Did you see that?
I think so.
Yes.
Keep saying it. I think I know what you're talking
Yeah.
about.
She was like, "Oh, I broke a mug and I told my dad,"
Yep.
and his first words were, "I'm so glad you told me."
Mhm.
And I read through that whole post, and then she talks about having her own child and calling her dad and being like, "I don't know what to do, the baby's crying." And he's like, "What did I do?" And she was like, "Oh." And so the whole thing is she hangs up and she tells her baby, like, "I'm so glad you're telling me that you're frustrated or you're upset." And she starts this whole thing again. Um, but to me, that was such a picture of Jesus.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean,
So,
his welcoming us in whatever state that we're in and
all the
however we
states.
are. Yeah, and however we are. Even shaking our fists at him. Even,
Yes.
like, wondering what the heck is going on? Like, what is going on? I mean, I would be like, "Why is this happening to us?"
Right.
Because we don't if I think if it I think if I had been an alcoholic, it would have made more sense to me, like, "Oh,
Right.
I did this. It was this
Right.
is a consequence of my actions," but there was no logical consequence. There was no
Right.
action or sorry, there was no logical action to create this consequence. So
Right.
that was even more frustrating, but that lent to more dependence, right?
Yes.
And this is even crazier. So to round out the rainbow story, there was I was wondering when the rainbows would end, right? I was wondering like when am I going to stop seeing rainbows? Because this was, I mean, when I say months, I mean months. Like every single day there was a rainbow,
Mm.
and it's in June, July, August, into
Mm.
August, a rainbow in the sky every single
Wow.
day. Somebody sent me, if not multiple a day. So I was wondering when they would end, and the day I realized I didn't see a rainbow was the day after Truett's 8-week post-op date, which meant he was totally healed. So it was the promise fulfilled. Like
Mm.
throughout his diagnosis, throughout the surgery,
Mm.
throughout the post-op, the healing, there was a rainbow every day. And the day that I didn't see a rainbow, he was healed. Like he was
Mm.
perfectly healed. We could pick him up normal again. And I thought that
Mm.
that was like unbelievable and even more of a like, are you kidding me? Like that's so
Depth.
crazy that this would be the day. And then whenever I mentioned my husband and I spoke at the Louisiana Pediatric
Mhm.
Cardiology Foundation fundraiser recently. Well, I had invited, our friends. Like we
Right.
had tables and I'd invited a group of our friends and we took a friend photo. And whenever we looked around, we realized that we were in rainbow colors and we
That's
did not
wild.
plan it. Like a red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple.
That's crazy.
Unbelievable. And one of our friends looked up the odds and it was like 1 in 5 million odds that that would happen. And I
Wow.
think Chat GPT said, like, go buy a lottery ticket because you're more likely to win the lottery than that happening, than that
That's so
coincidence happening.
funny.
So it was just such a, and it's so funny because previously to that, I told my friend Celeste, I was like, I never want to talk about this again. I never want to talk about
Mm.
Truett's surgery.
Mm.
I was like, don't volunteer me to walk someone through this, through this. I was like, I never want to talk about it again. And then the
Right.
next day, they called us to ask if we would speak at the fundraiser. And I
Oh
was
my
like, "Okay,
gosh.
Lord, I hear you. I hear you. I hear you."
Yeah,
But
yeah,
just
yeah.
another comforting and confirmation thing was all of our friends, all the girls showed
Uh-huh.
up in a rainbow. And that was just so unbelievable. It was like all of those people that carried
Right.
us, all of our Aaron and hers, all
Mm.
stood in the photo. I hope whoever's listening to this will go look at it. It's at Ainsley B is my Instagram. And
Mhm.
maybe I need to pin it because that was so
Yes.
incredible. So I'll try and pin it
Yes.
to if I
Yeah.
remember.
I'll link it. I'll link it too. And I love that it's been the Truett Show. I love that, but I know
Oh yeah.
also that you have another daughter or you have another
Yeah.
child, you have a daughter, and I had written a question about this, so I'll ask it.
Mhm.
I imagine that walking through something like Truett's
Mm.
diagnosis with your husband can feel all consuming and just
Yeah.
so massive, like not just physically, but also emotionally, spiritually. Did you ever wrestle with the fear of unintentionally overlooking Goldie in those moments? Or like, how did you navigate together being present for both of your kiddos, even during pregnancy, but also now, like post op, during op, all that? And I'm sure it's still a daily battle, but that's the
No,
question. Like, how
totally.
did you navigate that together?
Yeah. We definitely did a lot of, like, Goldie focused days or activities. We made
Mm-hmm.
sure that each one of us got time with her every day. So our goal was like each one of us got at least 15 minutes of undivided attention with her every
Oh,
day. When he was born, she, praise God, was just obsessed with him and like
yay.
wanted to, but that was also hard because we had to keep her away from him
mm,
for germs. He couldn't get sick
mm,
or his surgery would be canceled or delayed. He also couldn't get sick in general because he had a heart defect. And
right.
so we kept this kid well, both kids well, which is truly a miracle. That's also a miracle. A
Right. A
toddler and a
toddler.
newborn. Yeah, who was in school. I mean, she was in school. There was the flu, RSV, croup, like everything was going around. We
Thank
kept
you,
her out of
Lord.
school a lot, like in it. She was in and out of school. She never knew she was going to school that day. Thankfully, she didn't care. But
Yeah.
the thing that I think we focused on was like we would tend to her first,
Mhm.
and I think that helped. So, like, if both of them were needing attention, we'd be like, "Okay, Truett, we're gonna help Goldie, and then we'll help you." Obviously, unless he was like screaming, crying, and then we just divide and conquer. Thankfully, my husband works next door, so that helped. He also had a very gracious paternity leave, and that also helped. I think time and taught we were very open with her. Honestly, she knew Truett
Mhm.
had a hole in his heart, and
Yeah.
she's 3, right? And we were like,
Right.
"This is what it looks like, and he's gonna have surgery, and, um, mommy and daddy are gonna be gone." We didn't know how long we'd be gone, but she's obsessed with her grandparents, and
Yay.
that really helped that, they
Mhm.
could be there. That's why we chose New Orleans versus Houston. She could
Mhm.
come to New Orleans, and she was there for a couple of days. She got to see him, not
Mm.
intubated or anything, but,
Right.
there was still a lot of wires. She had a lot of questions.
Yeah.
And we just answered them all, and I think the Lord was just with her
Yeah.
even as much as she was with us
Yeah.
in
Oh,
giving her grace.
100%. Um, I know we have to wrap up, which sucks, but we have a couple more minutes. I know you're very much still in the middle, which we address, which is why we're having the conversation. But what would you say to a woman who's listening to this who is navigating either like a medically complex pregnancy or a complex diagnosis of a child at any age? Because I'm sure it doesn't change how it feels when it's your child.
Yeah.
But what would you say to her from, I guess, your experience over the last few years, few months?
Ugh. I think that one of the things that helped me was to have one good friend to tell it all to,
Right.
but don't absorb a lot of other people's stories or experiences for me personally, because
Yeah.
then I just didn't want all of the, well, what if this? What if that? I very
Right.
much just wanted like, okay, me and this person have a shared experience, which was my friend Adrian with the snail
Mm-hmm.
that I talked about. Um, we have this shared experience, and and I would talk to her about it, but I did not subscribe to like a bunch of,
Right.
groups, Facebook groups, or a
Right.
bunch of
Right.
opinions, or like a lot of
Yeah.
people were very gracious and said, "Oh, my cousin's sister went through this. She would love to talk to you." And I'm like, "That's so kind." But like, I just didn't want to talk to a stranger about it. And I didn't want,
Right.
if they had complications, to influence my thoughts or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
So that's what I think that's my best advice is like have one and don't worry about the rest.
Yeah, I think that's similar in any really difficult thing that you have to do as a parent is set boundaries around, like, who what voices you're listening to and, um, who you let in. I navigated gestational diabetes, um,
Oh, yeah, I had that with
and it
Truett too.
was pretty intense.
So tough.
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
But having, like, the one mom with me to, like, talk about what we're gonna do and stuff, because I felt like my first appointment with the high-risk doctor, he, like, was so unhelpful. He's like, "And you need to keep your sugar down because you can kill her." And I'm like,
Yeah.
"Great. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Thanks."
And the
Cool.
crazy thing is that a lot of people don't even realize they have it because it can start when you're 30 weeks, 36
Right.
weeks. Like it doesn't have to start at that 28-week appointment
Right.
when you do your test. I declined the test with Truett because I was like, I'm just wearing a glucose monitor and carried out and I would have passed my glucose test because it didn't kick in until later.
Yep.
So like it's stupid anyway for them to
Right. It
to
is.
test that early, but they need us to give every pregnant person glucose monitors. That's what needs to happen,
Right, and I
period.
had to like, thankfully, we had the ability to pay for that because the testing, like, if you just, like, are pricking with a test strip is
Yeah.
not how are you gonna see everything you need to see? So, anyways, and maybe it's just a whole thing on modifying our diets in general, which we don't have to go into, but that's fine.
No, but that's not even I mean, yes, I agree, but that's not even just the source of it, right?
It's
Like,
not.
because it's the hormone, you can't
Right.
control it. I
No,
mean, my friend
it's completely
Celeste is
uncontrollable.
the healthiest person you will ever
Right.
meet, and she had it, and it was brutal. Hers was worse than mine, but, like, you mean she's extremely healthy. Like, she's the one
Yeah.
that I'm always like, "Just eat the pizza." But before the
Right.
gestational diabetes,
Right.
prior, she would always order the vegetable grilled chicken thing, and I'm like, "We all get a pizza, just eat the pizza." But, so anyway, that's just a picture of, like,
Right.
any that could happen to anyone. So it's not
Yeah.
I think it's not as easy as like, "Oh, you're eating healthy, you're fine." False.
No, and you can even eat healthy foods with gestational diabetes, and it really screw up your sugars, right?
Mhm.
Like an apple.
Yeah. Grapes,
Grapes. Oh, they're a bad
bananas.
one. I know.
What else spiked my sugars? I don't
So
know, but,
much,
me and
so
my
much.
glucose monitor, besties.
Yeah, me, anything with carbs would spike my sugar. It was really bad towards the end, and I would just, like, get up and do squats or walk around, or I've had to, like, schedule into my work calendar walking after literally every snack or meal, and
Yeah.
because I was, like, trying to not have to take metformin or insulin or anything,
Oh,
um,
wow. That's awesome.
because I just didn't wanna, like, introduce another thing to do,
Yeah.
um,
I would
but
had to do both of those. I'm still in metformin, actually.
mm, yeah, it's a lot to remember.
Mm, it is. Bananagrams.
Banana clips. My bestie was doing it. She was taking everything. She has PCOS, so anyways, this is digress. I probably will edit this out, but anyways, it was, um,
Yeah, the shared female experience.
that literally is very real and
Mhm.
happening to so many people. When I was diagnosed, I started to realize how many people were dealing with it.
Oh, yeah.
But back
Tons.
back to the question on like limiting influences, I've had to do that with navigating being a wife and a caregiver. I say caregiver, Alex doesn't need full-time care, but he does have cystic fibrosis, which automatically kind of thrusts you into the role of caregiver because you're the one closest to them. And there's just so many things you have to do when you're navigating a diagnosis, from like appointments to specialists. So he sees like 6 doctors when he sees a doctor. Um, and our journey has changed a lot over the last 7 years too, with different medical advancements and things. But anyways, navigating IVF with him and navigating CF in general, I have had to just like limit voices. Sometimes I've been excited and like wanted community and like joined a group or went to something and then was like, yeah, no,
Yeah,
that I can't do that.
yeah,
I just need my people, my person to talk to about this.
yeah, totally.
So,
Couldn't agree more.
um, yeah, which sucks because I know that like it's important to have someone to talk to. And I guess the groups are made for people who don't have someone to talk to. Um, but it was not
Yeah,
a
there's
good
just
experience.
a lot of, like, negative and, like, influence and energy in the groups because people want to save you from their bad experience, but they don't
Yeah,
realize they're projecting onto you their bad experience, and you're like, "Hmm, that's not my experience, and I don't want it to be, so I'm not gonna
right,
even put that in my brain."
right, right. 100%. Um, yeah, I think I went to one support group for IVF through, the clinic that we did IVF with, and it was led by like a licensed clinical social worker, counselor, something, and it turned into just, like, everyone complaining about how long, they had been doing their process and how awful it had been, and I was like, "I don't think I need to go to this. I don't think this is helpful for me at all in
Yeah,
any way, shape, or
yeah,
form." And not to just say, like, "Oh, only flood me with the positive," but, um, yeah, what we take into our brain is important, and trusting God, and I do wanna hear the stories of God's miracles, and I do wanna know that God is present, and I do want to hope for his healing whether or not I get to see it. So, um,
yeah,
and we both did, which is great. Um,
yeah,
so as we close, just a reminder that having faith does not erase fear in these situations. Um,
mhm,
but it can help you rewrite the narrative in your life and in your family. Um, and so like whether you're walking through a diagnosis or just the daily tensions of life and work, and motherhood or college, whoever is listening, or you're just in a silent season, um, I hope that this conversation will help you feel seen, strengthened, and reminded that God wants to listen to you. God is listening to you even before you ask for your rainbows or your snails.
mhm, yeah, totally,
And a reminder that God is still at work, especially in the middle. Um, yeah. So
mhm.
thank you, Ansley. I don't know if you have any final thoughts.
I don't think so, I think you oh, the one thing that I wanted to say, actually, whenever you mention fear, I
Mm,
do I do think that, the one thing that I have to remind myself is that I it is okay to, like, experience fear, but I will not partner with it.
say more.
So, I try to, like when I'm feeling it, I'm saying, "Okay, I'm not partnering with this, though. I'm not letting it consume me. I'm essentially
Hmm.
taking my thoughts captive," right?
Right.
But even saying I wrote down, like, "I will not partner with fear. I will not part" like punishment lines,
Yeah.
um, because it is torture. Fear can be torture. But if you can move through it and not
Hmm.
partner with it, that is the game changer. So
100%.
just want to mention that because I think that was also crucial to and is crucial to my day to day in the middle thing that I have to tell myself still.
Yeah, and I think that that's also true with other strong emotions too, right? With anger
Totally.
or grief or any of that,
Totally.
letting none of it control us. I think I heard someone say, I have to figure out who said it, but emotions are allowed to pick the radio station, but they're not allowed to drive the car.
Oh, that's funny. That's
Um,
so perfect. I love that.
right? So, like, we can listen to the song, we can feel the anger, we can feel the pain, we can feel the fear for a moment, and then we move on because God is driving the car. We're driving the car with Him. And, we're not partnering with that. It's not picking the
Yeah,
direction that any of this is going.
absolutely. I
So,
love that. That's so funny.
thank you so much. It's been a blessing for me to hear it. I know that it's only a piece of everything that's going on in your life, so I appreciate you taking the time and the space to share this, and I'm really excited for other women to hear this. Who knows? I hope that we'll get notes back from anyone that, um, has had this, like, bless them or help them along the way. So,
Yeah, let me know. I would love to
yeah,
hear stories, all
yeah,
kinds of stories.
yeah. Thank you again. Have a
Thank you.
lovely
Thank you
rest
for
of your day.
having me. You too.
Yeah. Bye.
Thanks for hanging out with us today. If something in this episode spoke into your middle moment, I genuinely want to hear about it. You can find me over on Instagram at hello.arianawaters or at becomingthepod. Send me a DM and let's chat. I love knowing what's landing with you. If you want more conversations like this, make sure to follow the show. I'm here every week, showing up with stories and voices that remind you you are not behind. You are becoming. Before you go today, two quick things. Tap the stars or leave a review. It helps more women your age find this space. And if someone came to mind while you were listening, text this episode to them. We all need those. Hey, this made me think of you moments. As you head into your week, hold on to this promise from Deuteronomy. The Lord goes before you, and he will be with you. He will never leave you or forsake you. You're not walking in the middle alone, not for 1 second. All right, friend, I'll see you next week. Until then, I hope you can be faithful wherever you are.